what's the difference between you working with the youth athlete as opposed to the college athlete or high school athlete? And is there any difference there too as well?
So we work on a lot of like movement qualities, movement efficiency, movement patterns, and really try to work on it from everybody's perspective. Because you can be a professional athlete and have a lot of, poor movements, and you just got through it because you're a real special, specimen of an athlete. So when you come in here, we work from, really analyzing and doing full assessments with all of our athletes and looking at everything. So, and you're probably doing it too with your youth athletes all the way to your professionals. Like we'll look at like a single leg squat. Very, very simple. It's going to tell you a lot of things. Is the foot going into, pronation? Is the knee going into valgus? Is the hips going to unleveling? That's going to tell us a lot of things, especially because with our athletes, we try to work on a lot of speed and agility. So if my athletes are constantly pushing off the inside edge of their foot, no matter what age, that's going to develop a poor motor pattern, and you're going to have a lot of issues going down the line, especially when they get older. And eventually we can have Achilles shreds, knee tears, hip itises, so many different things that are going to be caused through this, just through, one simple mechanism problem, the foot pronating, that subtalar joint going to hyperpronation. And so we look at simple things like that through assessments, and literally every athlete gets that screening. And then we start to look at 10-yard sprints, 5-10-5 change of directions through video analysis, and seeing where are they pushing off of. If it's inside edge, we got to fix it really quickly. We want everything outside edge, make sure everybody's in proper movement patterns, so then we can be more effective. We can be a lot more explosive as an athlete. But I have a lot of professional athletes because I'm also the head strength and conditioning coach of a CFL team now. So forgot to put that in there. But so we look a lot with our pro athletes, and a lot of them, just through their training in general and all their movements that they're going through their strength training, they're developing these poor movement qualities, and we're seeing a lot of injuries, and we've started to really correct them just through these assessments.
No, that's great, because that was another thing I wanted to ask you, was like, what was the assessment protocol for the youth athletes all the way up? Now, do you do something basic like an FMS? I know you did the single leg squat, and you're actually looking at motor patterns through agility type movements, change of direction. Is there anything from like a strength perspective, whether it be, your go-to KPIs for strength and understanding how an athlete can actually move underneath load?
Yeah, so you want to be able to generate force and velocity and stuff like that. We can do what we do sometimes is the more trap bar deadlifts. We like that because it's a little bit more anatomically correct, because we can go into a squat and, it's not always going to be translatable, but we find more of the trap bar deadlift translatable, and it's easier to teach. And we find that you get into a better movement pattern through that. But what I like to do more is I like to work with my youngest athletes, even my professionals, on how to develop a proper body weight movement base first. Okay. So we're looking at, can my athlete do a proper lunge? A lot of athletes can't do a proper lunge, front lunge, reverse lunge. And what is that going to correlate to? If you can't do a proper single leg lunge, then you're not going to be able to decelerate properly, right? If you can't decelerate properly, you can't come to balance. You can't be come under control. And so you're going to get hurt eventually, right? So if you can't do that as a young athlete, then imagine me looking at it from a professional athlete, college athlete that's been doing these bad lunges, side lunge, front lunge, bad squats. Then I'm not going to go load them either.
Yeah. Of course, like, you want to actually make sure that they have the proper joint prerequisites. They have the ability to move with just their body weight before you put load on them. That makes total sense. Now, if for the young guys, are you doing like more of that just body weight training only? Let's say, for instance, I would say you're middle school to just getting into high school. Are you starting to load them now that they have the efficiency of movement?
Yes. So what we like to do is, and you're familiar with triphasic training. So we'll use that concept where we start to work on isometrics, so we can work on certain joint angles. We're starting to work on eccentric base movements, so we can work on absorbing force, and then obviously concentric, so we can explode out of it. But that has all relevance to sports. So once we've developed proper movement patterns, we've got proper base, now we can start to load the tissue, right? Load the musculature, but it has to be done properly. So we won't just throw them into a trap bar deadlift. We might do more landmine squats, a little bit easier, It keeps you more upright. You can lean into it properly. We might put them on slant boards, keep the inside ankle bone high, make sure, because when you start to do squats, stuff like that, we also have, poor movement patterns in our day, right? So a lot of these kids have really tight ankles, more in the calf region. They're always, hunched over on their phone at their desk. So they're long and tight in the back. So a lot of these kids come in and we only see them once a week. So for them to move properly and have great mobility to go into deep range of squats and all that kind of stuff is tougher. So we get them into a landmine and we lean them over. It actually puts you in a way better position because you keep a nice upright torso, and then you can lean into it, especially if we elevate the heels a little bit. So now we're getting rid of any ankle problems and hip issues, and now we're allowing it to get more range of motion in these exercises. So landmine squat, unbelievable. Plus you're moving forward. We're looking for forward locomotive, right? So everything wants to go straight ahead. So it's a much better exercise to do than to just put them into a back squat or a trap bar deadlift. So it's a little bit easier.
Yeah. So like with your isometrics, and I know you do triphasic, but are you doing a mixture of both, like concentric or eccentric isometrics?
Yes.
From there?
Yes.
Okay.
So we might do 5 seconds lowering, and then just to learn that position, we might hold that for another 5 seconds. And I always find it as a coach, it's easier to cue athletes, especially when you have numerous athletes, like teams, like 15 players, that when you do something very slow, I can literally pick apart problems, right? So if a kid's going down, all of a sudden he starts to round his back, I can say, hey, chest up a little bit more, right? So then as he's going down, he's got time to reset himself, or the knee starts to go in. Okay, hey, push those knees out a little bit. Okay, make sure that your feet are grounded. You can fix those problems when you're doing slow eccentrics and isometric holds than you could if you're just going up and down quickly. You're not going to get much out of it.
Yeah, and that's a good way to get them ready for those faster eccentrics. Is obviously you learn it slow and then you can speed it up over time.